Welcome to the Money Tips No One Told You podcast. I'm Heather with First Pioneers Federal Credit Union, and I'll be your host. At First Pioneers, we're dedicated to caring for our members' financial needs with heart, and that means providing more than just financial services. It's about empowering you to take control of your financial destiny through knowledge and understanding. This podcast is all about guiding our listeners toward a brighter financial future. So get ready to embark on a journey towards financial well-being, because at First Pioneers, we believe that when our members are financially successful, we all succeed. Stay tuned for a wealth of knowledge and inspiration. Today we're diving into a topic that I think is actually super important, and I'm not sure that many people have a good grasp on this. And that's, how much money do you really need to retire? And I think for many of us, it just feels like this sort of elusive number, something that I'm never going to figure out. And I don't know, maybe to some people it's simple. But to me, it feels complex, and there's so many variables and factors to consider. Now, of course, I would say the best way to tackle this is to discuss it with a financial planner, so that they can give you the specific advice that you need, specific guidance depending on your income levels, your expenses, the lifestyle that you live. You know, it's going to be different for everyone. There's really not one simple answer, but I really wanted to talk about it and kind of give everyone an idea of what this looks like and the things that you will need to look at and consider as you start creating this plan. So let's get into it. Traditionally, you may have heard people approach retirement with the rule of 25 and the 4% rule. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, the rule of 25 is suggesting that your goal should be saving 25 times your annual expenses before retiring. So, for example, let's say you spend $40,000 a year, then you'd want a nest egg of $1 million. And then the 4% rule kind of goes with that. The idea being that you can safely withdraw 4% of your retirement savings each year without running out of money. And now, of course, this is based on historical data of stock and bond returns over 30 years of retirement. But retirement is a lot like most other finances, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all plan. And these rules don't really account for everything. I mean, things like market fluctuations or healthcare costs. And of course, there's longer lifespans for some people. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball that will tell us how long we need to plan for, right? And look, the landscape of retirement is changing just like life is changing. So these rules, they're a great place to start, but like we said, they don't cover everything. For instance, many people now have more active retirements, which of course may require more funding up front. So this is going beyond, healthcare, which is, I think, where a lot of people go first when they're considering this. But you're having to consider your lifestyle choices. If you plan to travel, those costs need to be factored in, because those are going to be different than, just maintaining your home. Speaking of home, you have to also consider where you live. Basic cost of living can fluctuate wildly geographically, right? If you're in a more urban area, those can be a little higher for cost of living, but maybe perhaps you live in the country or in a smaller town. Your cost of living may be a little bit less. And my goodness, we can't forget those unexpected expenses, maybe a home repair, an auto repair. I mean, we're here in South Louisiana, so things like hurricanes and damage from those storms can end up being a really unexpected expense. And then, of course, we have to consider those major illnesses. And of course, that can cost more than just the kind of normal healthcare cost. And of course, recently, what have we had to add? What has everybody had to add into their budget? That's inflation. We've had to add inflation to those variables. And I think many people that started with that basic, that rule of 25, they probably didn't expect these kinds of jumps in the cost of, well, gosh, just about everything, right? I mean, not just basic needs either. I mean, healthcare, repairs, all the things, you name it, it's gone up. And I really do think that this may be the number one thing that people overlook when they're trying to do their planning for their retirement. You may also want to consider going beyond just your regular living expenses of being in your current home, especially if you end up needing something like an assisted living environment or something similar. Those can often be at an increased cost, because many folks, as they get into their older years and get more towards those retirement years, their home may be paid off. They may not have a mortgage or something anymore. So they don't have that big expense of, like I said, a rent or mortgage. So when you have to start paying for things like assisted living, homes or things like that, that starts to bring those costs back in, those higher costs. So that's something to keep in mind. So what's recommended is that you start with calculating your current expenses, and then adjusting for inflation and any of those lifestyle changes like we discussed, traveling, any of those things that you're planning to do in retirement. Make sure you include those things in your plans. There are tools out there like retirement calculators, and those can help simulate scenarios, and they base it on your savings, your expected returns on things like investments, and then, of course, withdrawal rates. And I will tell you, this is truly where a financial advisor can be so important, because they can look at your circumstances. They look at your income, your savings, and then your goals, and they're going to be able to put it all together and help you see a better, bigger picture. And let's say you're looking at some of these things and maybe they're not quite adding up the way you thought they would. There are things you can consider to help that. You can consider different ways that you can diversify your income sources in retirement. It may not be just relying on your retirement accounts. There's always, Social Security. Hopefully you can include that. And if you have any pensions or anything like that, any investments, all those things can be sources of income as you move into retirement. And, you may even consider doing some kind of part-time work to help out. So I think you can see there's so many factors at play. Your personal circumstances are huge, and there's so many factors just there. But there's also things like the market conditions. You've really got to look at just kind of what's going on with the overall market and economy. And we really don't know how those things might change. And you also have to consider, what's your definition of retirement? Because that may look different for different people. There may be some people that, they never really want to quit working. So there may be a source of income for many years. And there may be others that really want to live a really sort of relaxed lifestyle, where maybe their expenses won't be as high. They won't have as much to pay for. And you may have others that just want to live life large when they get into retirement. They want to travel, and they want to do all the things that they weren't able to do before. So it really, it depends on what retirement looks like to you. So, unfortunately, there's not really an easy answer, but there are ways to get that answer, and it's just going to take some thought, some planning. And like I said, I would absolutely visit with a financial planner so that you can sit down and really see what it is that you want your retirement to look like and see what you can do to put that plan in place to make that happen. And my bonus tip for today, just like other things, and we've talked about this quite a bit lately, it's important to embrace flexibility when it comes to your retirement spending. The plan is crucial. We've said that. We know this is true. But again, kind of like the rest of your life, I'm sure, it's also really important to be adaptable. Typically, I think what we see is that retirees will spend more in their early years of retirement. They're probably going to be a little more active. They may be traveling and, just kind of enjoying that newfound freedom that they have. So they may be spending a little more at that time. But often as you get into later years, that spending is probably going to decrease a bit. And again, this depends on the person and their lifestyle that they've chosen. But just being prepared for variable spending each year versus, this static amount each year, that may be really helpful in your planning. You can also consider keeping some of your portfolio invested in more growth-oriented assets. And what that can do is help you maintain some flexibility with your withdrawal rates. And of course, that depends on how your investments are performing. And, a flexible strategy helps with those unexpected costs that may happen, or if your circumstances change, or, like we have now, the economy changes. So that flexibility can come in things like adjusting your spending or finding ways that you can adjust your income where you can. Oddly enough, it's actually very similar to the thought process that you have before you retire. So it really comes down to having a plan and being able to adapt to that plan if you need to. And of course, I think you can see from this too that the truth is the more you can save, the better. So like we've discussed other times, the earlier you can start, take advantage of that and start saving. And look, I know that all this sounds like a lot and that it can be overwhelming if we allow it to be. But again, visiting a financial planner can really help this make sense, and they can help you really look at these variables, start to break them down, looking at your situation and help you make the best decisions that you can. And that's the key, isn't it? To really realistically look at your needs, look at your goals, and then just work to plan a strategy that's going to work for you. Because the end goal in all of this is to enjoy your retirement without financial stress. And planning for that adaptability can really make a big difference. That wraps up another episode of Money Tips No One Told You. We hope you enjoyed the insights and tips shared today. If you have any questions, thoughts, or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps us tailor future content to better serve you. There are several ways you can find us if you need further information or need to speak with a financial counselor. Visit us in person in Lafayette or New Iberia, Louisiana, or at firstpioneers.com to find out how to become a member of our family and find other financial information. Also, be sure and check out the show notes for important links and important information. Your financial journey is important to us, and we're here to support you every step of the way. We hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.